I think everyone has a role in helping to increase Bitcoin adoption in the world.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of your viewers are already believers in Bitcoin, but there's a great impact, I think, when you're at a dinner or you're out with friends. Just talk about Bitcoin, share with them this amazing, asset class, something that I think can be transformational for them if they adopt early. I tell my friends to put 100% of their net worth into Bitcoin,
A
but
hundred
perhaps that's
percent.
too far. But to start somewhere, right? Everyone can invest 1, 2, 3, 5%. But that means that 95% that isn't invested in Bitcoin is in something that I think is inferior. But I think we can all play a very important role in orange pilling those around us. And one by one, I think the dominoes will fall. We're beginning to see that now, which is incredibly exciting. It's no longer a fringe asset. It's something that's definitely mainstream. And when Wall Street begins to embrace Bitcoin, that's a really good sign.
So does this mean you're personally 100% in Bitcoin?
I just sold an apartment in Tokyo to buy Bitcoin.
No way.
I still have an apartment in Bangkok, which I'm looking to sell. If I can sell it, that goes into Bitcoin as well.
If you don't know who this is the CEO of Metaplanet, Simon Jerevich, and he's sitting here saying he's fully ported into Bitcoin. Metaplanet has been going crazy. We'll talk about all this video, so make sure you watch this to the end. There's a lot going on over in Japan and also in the US for Metaplanet. Don't miss this video. With that, what's happening, Crypto Crew? Sean's coming back at you, another cryptocurrency video. We're getting straight into it. So if you don't know, the ticker for Metaplanet is 3350. This is the Japanese ticker. 3350. You can find this on TradingView, Metaplanet Inc. And basically, what do we see? What do we anticipate? We broke through downwards resistance. If we zoom out on these charts, we can see that Metaplanet has been just melting down into the right like an ice cube. And when did they start buying Bitcoin? Last year. Look what happened. The price is starting to reverse and we're breaking through decade-long downwards resistance. We came back and back tested it, and now Metaplanet is ripping to the upside. The current time it's recording, this is 783 in the JPY. If we zoom in on this price action, we can see that we put in a divergence here. You see we put a low here in the RSI, and the RSI put in a higher low while the price put in a lower low. Rounding bottom, things are looking up into the right. It's on the weekly chart. Now, this is one ticker. The other ticker to pay attention to is MTPLF. Now, this hasn't been around as long, but this is the OTC ticker for the US. So US markets are gaining liquidity. And you might say, hey, look at the dollar. It's 522. Why is this 522 and this is 783? This is the Japanese yen. This is 522. They trade in lockstep, but the Japanese market's open right now and US markets are closed. So you can sort of see what's happening ahead of time if you're in the US and vice versa based on price action after the close. So we closed at 522, up 19% today, and looking at 3350, this is up 14%. So massive blast off is gapping up. This is turning a lot of heads. So if you're in the US and you want to buy it, MTPLF is that ticker. Depending on what broker you are, you can get exposure through your international trading desk. You can get the 3350 ticker. MTPLF is a US OTC ticker. So just pay attention to what's going on. This is making a lot of news. It's going to be turning a lot of heads. And looking at MTPLF, we see we had this multi-months of resistance that we couldn't get above around the 4.19 range, and look what just happened. We blasted above it and we are off to the races. There's a lot of bullishness happening, so much bullishness that Michael Saylor's even asking, what's up with Metaplanet? Simon, talking to the CEO, seeing this spike up that just happened when the Japanese markets opened. Simon's response, Bitcoin is the key. Metaplanet is unlocked. If you ain't been paying attention, Metaplanet just bought another 1,000 for Bitcoin. If you go to the treasuries.bitbo.io, you can actually see Metaplanet on here. 7,800 Bitcoin. Right now, as far as publicly owned companies, they are in the top 10. So they're making some massive moves. They haven't even been acquiring for more than a year. So they have been buying Bitcoin like a madman. Metaplanet madness is real. One thing to understand and know, Japan's 40-year bond yield hits a 20-year high. The entire world should be worried. Why is this a concern? Well, if you don't know, higher government borrowing costs means that the government must pay more interest to borrow, increasing national debt costs. Also, there's market fear and uncertainty. There might be some long-term inflation, persistent deficits, financial instability, etc., etc. Pressure on other asset classes such as real estate, the stock market, and an economic slowdown risk. High yields could lead to higher interest rates across the economy, which slows down things in business, from small business to corporate level. Understand that. So this could be a flight to safety for Metaplanet because there's overall Bitcoin exposure. Metaplanet is the first company that has a public offering to get Bitcoin exposure for the Japanese citizens. So understand this could be a flight to safety with what's going on with this potential slowdown. With this recent news here with the 40-year bond yield hitting 20-year high. So pay attention to this. How long can this last? Climb the ladder. Shout out to him. He's saying this is just the beginning. People are saying, is this real life? Metaplanet right here, it gapped up almost 100 points. 97. 100, probably at the current time it's recording, it's at 783. So yes, it gapped up 100 points at open. Is this real life? Yes. If you want to hear more and find out more about Metaplanet, you can check them out at Metaplanet_JP. Go ahead and give them a follow. And also follow their CEO at Jervich. They are very transparent with all of their Bitcoin buys. Every time they buy, they post it. Yeah, this is in Japanese, but one thing you can do, you can click on it, you can translate the post and see what they're talking about. They're making major plays. Dylan LeClaire is on board as part of the executive staff. Pay attention to what's going on here. Check out this message from Simon.
People have heard about the Bitcoin treasury strategy. Can you walk us through step by step the Metaplanet story from where you guys kind of started? Things weren't going so well. What was the decision-making process like? And then how did you eventually kind of get started with this?
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. So I started my career actually at Goldman as a derivatives trader. I was working in Tokyo. Did that for 5.5 years and decided to become an entrepreneur and moved to Thailand. Started a hotel company. Grew that hotel company to 30 properties across Southeast Asia. We ultimately re-entered the Japan market, and then COVID happened. And COVID was obviously a very difficult period for those in the hospitality industry. And there was a lot of soul searching at the depths of COVID. Most of our markets were forcibly closed. We had no choice but to close the doors, and we had zero revenue. I think no business person expects to have zero revenue in their kind of worst models. And I guess I was sitting there watching podcasts and watched Michael Saylor talk about his journey. And at the beginning of 2020, thinking about what to do with his company, with his $500 million, I suppose, of cash at that time, and where to deploy that, explored all sorts of different opportunities, and then came to the conclusion that Bitcoin was where he wanted to place his company's money. And that was still early on. We were in the middle of COVID, still trying to survive, trying to raise capital. And I think it must have been 2023, towards the end, when we really had no choice. The Japanese regulator had our auditor had put a going concern footnote in our financials, which makes it very difficult to operate. And at that time, our board and shareholders said, try something, try anything. And I was quite passionate about Bitcoin on the side for some time. It was something that I dabbled in from as early on as 2012, and was always really finding a path where we could connect business with Bitcoin. And so at the end of 2023, sat the board down and said, let's explore this. Let's investigate how we can go about adopting Bitcoin as our treasury reserve asset. So it was a number of months of sort of hard work, but in April of last year, we formally adopted a Bitcoin standard. Our market cap at that time was only $12 million. So it was the beginning of a very exciting journey.